Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play, presented by Win or Lose Sports. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, and that's okay because we need time off, we need breaks, we need time to reflect, time to recover from doing hundreds of episodes of podcasts. So, anyway, we're back with another episode of Play by Play. A new season, a new era of shows that we're going to be bringing to Toledo, Ohio, and the surrounding areas. We're going to be talking about the City League basketball history. So we got a podcast coming out called City League Conversations. So that's Toledo City League Conversations. We got some former players from the City League who's won city championships, who went on to play in state championships, and some others who's broken school records, and who's been inducted into the school Hall of Fame of their respective schools. So it's going to be an exciting season for Win or Lose Sports. If you haven't already, go follow us on all social media, especially on Facebook, because we have a lot of interaction on Facebook with the things that we post. So facebook.com/win or lose show. Everything is at Win or Lose Show. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter. We're hardly on Twitter, but we're on Twitter, or X as we call it now. And the website, of course, winorloseshow.com. So we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the conversation that a lot of people are afraid to have, and that is the GOAT conversation. And the reason why we are afraid to have this conversation is because no matter who you are, no matter what sport that you're in, the topic is very sensitive. It's very it can be very people can get very aggressive when we're talking about the GOAT conversation, because there is no real way to figure out who is the greatest athlete to come out of Toledo. And I mean, even though we've had phenomenal players, when you go back to the 60s and 70s, we've had phenomenal athletes, track stars, basketball players, football players who played in the NFL. A lot of players that you've never heard of, but they were pro athletes. We have basketball players who played in high school and in college, won championships in high school, won championships in college, and went on to play in a pro. Talk about Truman Clater, who won championships on two levels, high school and college. You talk about players like Dennis Hopson, who've broken records in high school and college and was on a championship team in the pros. I mean, you got players like Donald Collins, Terry Crosby. You got Chris Polnitz. A lot of these players in high school and in college were phenomenal, and they've accomplished a lot. William Buford, who went on to play overseas in a pro and in pro, and he still plays for the TBT in the TBT, and plays all the time. And he's accomplished a lot as a player. Jim Jackson, who is a lot of people's favorite player to come out of Toledo. When we talk about the greatest male basketball player to come out of Toledo, is most likely people are going to say Jim Jackson, because he's more well known, because he's accomplished a lot as a high school player. He was a phenom. He was LeBron James before LeBron James. When he went to college, they went to the Final Four, I think, twice. And he was drafted 4th overall in the 92 draft and played for the Dallas Mavericks alongside Jason Kidd, and Jamal Mashburn, who in 94, 95, Jim Jackson led the team and second in the league in scoring, averaging 25.7 points a game. And a lot of people will say, even myself, I would say that if Jimmy wouldn't have got hurt that season, he only played 51 games that season. And if he would not have got hurt that season or any season, he will be arguably the most accomplished basketball player to come out of Toledo. Because the trajectory of his career was, the sky's was the limit. Especially the way he was scoring. It looked so easy for him. Second only to Michael Jordan in scoring the year Michael Jordan came back out of retirement. But we want to focus on, or is this the question? Do we want to focus on what the player has accomplished as far as championships, as far as awards they've received in the pros or wherever they play? It don't have to be NBA or WNBA. Because when you're talking about WNBA, there are a lot of, or a few, I would say a few, I won't say a lot. There were a few female players from Toledo who went on to play in the WNBA, who were drafted by WNBA teams and went on to play. Erica Haney was drafted. Kendra Harrison was drafted. Zia Cook drafted. Natasha Howard drafted. And there's a couple more that weren't in the city league, but were in the city area that was drafted in the WNBA and made some noise in the WNBA. But we want to focus on who has accomplished the most athletically on the floor as a pro. That to me will make them the greatest accomplished athlete to come out of Toledo as far as basketball. Because I don't know football. I mean, Nate Washington does have 2 championship rings with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know if anyone else has a championship ring to come out of Toledo in football. But when we talk about basketball, because that's what most people focus on when it comes to the best athlete to come out of Toledo, we mostly talk about basketball. We talk about Jim Jackson. We talk about Natasha Howard. We talk about Zia Cook. We talk about Kamisha Harrison. We talk about Erica Haney. We talk about players who went on to play pro and got something done. So to me, and this is arguably the most accomplished athlete in any sport, in any area of Ohio, Natasha Howard has 3 WNBA championships, 2017, 18, and 2020. A 2-time All-Star, a WNBA Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, the year she didn't win a championship. She still won an award, which is the Defensive Player of the Year. She was all WNBA first team in 2019. First of all, nobody has accomplished first team anything in any sport that I remember. And Natasha Howard, I think, was the first one to ever do that. And that might not be a huge award for some people, but we talk about the WNBA probably has over 160 players, and she was on the top 5 players that year in 2019. 2-time WNBA All Defensive First Team 2018 and 19. The WNBA Most Improved Player in 2018. She was also 2-time First Team All ACC in college at Florida State 2013 and 14. A EuroLeague champion in 2024. This just happened this year, 2024. still winning championships outside of the WNBA. See, that's the thing with women's basketball. You have to play other places to get more games because their season is so short. And the money is so short, so they have to make money other places. And if you want to play more, you got to play other places. FIBA Europe Super Cup Women's Champion and last year in 2023, a Triple Crown in 2024. Wait a minute. Turkish League Champion in 2022-23, and a Turkish Cup winner in 2024 this year. And of course, she was Ohio Miss Basketball in 2010, coming out of high school at Wade High School. So when you talk about the greatest, most accomplished player, basketball player, sports figure, athlete to come out of Toledo, it has to be Natasha Howard, hands down. There's no way that any other player, athlete can top this. All these awards, all these feats that she's accomplished in her career since 2010. So in 14 years, she's accomplished all this. That's from high school, the end of high school, to now. Now, we're not talking about who can win a one-on-one contest, who can win a one-on-one between Dennis Hopson and Erica Haney, or Jim Jackson and Natasha Howard. We're not talking about that. That's stupid. That's a dumb conversation. We're talking about who has made an impact on the league more than any other player in their respective leagues. And that has to be Natasha Howard. Now, Jimmy would have, I believe, made a huge impact on the league and would have around close to the same amount of awards. Most improved player, first team all NBA, maybe an NBA champion. I don't know. But we can't go by what ifs. I mean, I love Jimmy. That's my brother. But we're talking about the greatest accomplished player, Natasha Howard. But we've yet to see younger players like Zia Cook, what she's capable of doing in the WNBA. One day we might see that. We didn't see what could have happened with Jimmy's career if he wouldn't have got hurt. Because Jimmy still had a great career. He still had a great career playing for Phoenix, for Portland, who had great playoff runs when he was there. Dennis Hopson could have had a great career, and he said this to me himself on a podcast, that he wished he would have never got traded to Chicago, because that trade kind of broken up the pathway of his career. At New Jersey, under Bill Fitch, the coach for New Jersey at the time, Dennis was averaging close to 16 points a game and was the team's leading scorer. Traded to Chicago, he had to play behind Mike. Understand this. As a scorer, a person who can put up numbers like Dennis could, because he's still all-time leading scorer at Ohio State, I wouldn't want to play behind Mike. Why would I want to play behind Mike? I want to play against Mike, and I want to average 20 to 25 points a game. Winning a championship, that's cool, yes. Great. Winning a championship is great. But I want to be able to showcase my skills and be on the floor, defend, and score. So if Dennis would not have got traded to Chicago, maybe he wouldn't have won a championship. But I believe that he would have been a great scorer in the league because he was on his way. I think that was year 3 or 4 when he got traded to Chicago. In 1990, yeah, because he was drafted in 87. So year 3, he was traded to Chicago. If I'm wrong, Dennis, let me know. But I believe that if he would have stayed in New Jersey and Bill Fitch would have got the pennies out of his butt and stopped being hard-headed or whatever he was being and let Dennis cook like he can, it would have been a totally different story for his career. Dennis, again, still had a good career as a pro. Won a championship in Chicago. I think after that he went to Sacramento and then still played overseas. And after that, he still accomplished a lot as a coach, as an AAU coach, as a businessman. So shout out to Dennis Hopson. That's also my brother. I call Dennis and Jimmy my big brothers because those two are the guys who I go to when I need counseling about something, when I need advice about something. So, and they accomplished a lot as far as what I wanted to accomplish, as far as in broadcasting, in business, and in sports. So shout out to Jimmy and Dennis. So, but if you have an opinion about who is the greatest and most accomplished athlete, leave it in the comments. Send us an email, info@winorloseshow.com. We read all emails. And if you have a suggestion of who we should post as far as athletes who's accomplished things in our area in Toledo, we've been doing that lately. And in the comments, we get a what about this person? What about that? We haven't forgot about anybody. So it's not about what about or why are y'all posting John Floyd and y'all didn't post Nashawn Coleman. We did post Nashawn Coleman and John Floyd. And both of them were great players at St. John's. So the whataboutisms can stop. Because we're going to post everyone we can post about. Because we love, this is what we do. We love sports. We love sports in Toledo. So we try to highlight the sports and the athletes in Toledo. The coaches, the players, the teams. So we're going to have another conversation. Hopefully Bo and Ronell Isom can get on this episode, and Mike Chalk. I want to talk about the Scott versus Libby all-time game. Who would win that game? Coached by Coach Leroy Bates on one side for the Libby Cowboys, and the other side will be Ben Williams. And we're going to take the best players from Libby, the best players from Scott, and put them head to head and have a conversation to say who would win this game. And it's not disrespectful to have this conversation, because I went to Scott and 90% of my family went to Scott, but my father went to Libby. So we've had these conversations growing up as to say who would win these type of games. Because the thing about him, my father, was that he went to Libby, he played at City Park, but he also respected Ronald Collins, and Truman Claytor, because that's who we played against. So these guys were, Scott and Libby, been going on since the 60s, 50s maybe, but I know the 60s for sure. So these conversations has been going on for years and years, but I want to have this conversation because it's interesting. I think it'll be fun, and I think we can come out with I need another Scott person. That's the only thing. Mike Chalk is neutral. I'm pretty neutral because I played my freshman year, but then I hurt my knee, so I couldn't play the rest. But Ronell and Bo played for Libby, so I need one more person who played for Scott maybe to come on the show. But we'll talk with that. We'll have this conversation, and then another conversation. This is my last thing before I go. Is I want to say shout out to Big Baby Jared Anderson for the fight last night. You can't win them all, but what I want to say is Jared is a fighter, and I'm tired of people saying he should have did this and he should have did that. He's a fighter. He's a pro fighter. Robert Easter Jr. is a pro fighter. Prince Albert Prince Bell is a pro fighter. We can't tell these guys what they should have done. I know this is what we do. This is what we do when we watch what we did when we watched Tyson fight. This is what we did when we watched Evander Holyfield fight. We want to say what he should have done, and we still do it. When Terrence Crawford won, he won by it should have been a draw. Or when Mayweather fights, he only fights on defense. There's no offense. But this is how he won. This is how he never lost. But anyway, as spectators, we want to tell the pro fighters, these are professionals. We want to tell the pro fighters how to fight their fight, how to win, how they're going to win their fight. They've been training for months, for weeks at a time. We want to tell them what they should have done. Us we've never been in the ring before. Now I could go and look at Max Kellerman, who's probably never been in the ring, but he's a pro analyst who can dissect the fight because he's watched pro fighting for years. That's his skill set, is pro boxing. I'm not Max Kellerman. You're not Max Kellerman either. So you're not going to tell Jared Anderson, who's a professional fighter, Robert Easter Jr., who's a professional fighter, Albert Prince Bell, who's a professional fighter, how to fight his fight. Even the ones that you don't want to name. Antoine Jones, who's a professional fighter, how to win his fight. Even the young fighters, Andre McCullum Jr., who's a semi-pro. I say semi-pro because he's on his way to be pro. He's an amateur fighter, but he has a trainer. He has a father who chose him how to fight. So us who's never been in the ring, who's never took an analyst class on how to analyze boxing, I'm not going to tell them how to win a fight. I'm going to have an opinion about it, but guess what? I'm going to keep that opinion to myself. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to Play by Play. We're going to have more Toledo geared shows. Of course, Mike Chalk will be joining me on a few shows. John Floyd also going to join me on City League Conversations. I'm trying to get Ronell, Lee Tab, and Terry back on for the Win or Lose Sports Show. But we're back. This is a new season. So if you want to be on the show, give us a call. Give us an email, info@winorloseshow.com, or visit the website at winorloseshow.com and leave a comment on the contact page. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.